such a pleasure to come home because I have a very special love for this city.
Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. Alright.
All right, looks like I'm in again.
You're really good at this technology stuff. I can see why they hired you as a tech guy.
Yeah. Well, I was a history major, so
That's
and a bartender for like a decade.
No Time for Podcast, Episode 1, Part 2. Back to the show.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Sorry, I was trying to explain to Pete what happened. Let's see
No,
if
I could hear you guys the whole time. I just couldn't. You couldn't hear me again.
Yeah.
I think I see the anchor now, and it's just you and me in there. Old man, but no Peter yet.
Pete can get in there. I'll just splice these together, hopefully. Hey, Pete.
I got nothing.
Peter, can you hear me?
I see that. I see it muted on the thing on your name.
Yeah, it looks it's muted
Hold
on
on.
mine too.
Sorry, I had to mute the other time. I just sent another anchor link to record it, so if you could hop on that. And Jeremy's on there already, so and we're talking, nice things about you. You know.
Really?
We're saying like how great this is going, and how we're gonna invite you back more often. And,
No, I ain't buying that.
I mean, at least we're not having as many technical difficulties as the last time we podcast. I mean, it went smoother, but the recording actually dropped the audio quite a bit, so that was great.
Okay.
All right, me too.
Yeah, I see you on there now.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing you through Anchor.
Until someone leaves in the car again, and then we lose audio, or I lose audio, and you guys just talk for 20 minutes without me.
Yes. Can you hear me too, guys?
Yep.
All right, sweet.
Yep.
I think we're all in. So I don't know. You guys were talking about high school and stuff at the end, or when I dropped off.
Yeah, I don't know if there's something specific you guys want to talk about. Like if we want to get back on track and try to go through any semblance of order.
Yeah, why don't we, let's see. Let's get the theme. Let's. How about we all? I don't know, college theme.
We kind of went through that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we talked a little bit. Yeah, I don't know how much the college, like if you want to go to bars, restaurants, places to go. I'm flexible.
Well, I mean, it's grandma's,
physically.
right?
It's grandma's. So
Yeah.
That's your favorite bar. That was your favorite class.
It was.
Your favorite classroom story is the dance floor. And what else you got?
Jeff McNulty was a DJ. I mean, there's so much material to mine there.
And that one time where those two girls came up to you, and what happened again?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it was, I believe the names were Maria and T.
you remember better than I do, huh?
Because Jeremy's like, how is this happening? I haven't heard him laugh this much in a long time. This is good therapy for Jeremy. So we're not going to tell that story. Okay.
Yeah, we'll let that one fall into the ether.
That'll be more of a. We'll do a drinking version of this.
People have to pay for that
at
one?
some point, and maybe it comes up there.
Cool. More drinking on podcast. I like it.
It's not the worst idea I've had.
No, it's not. Can we also have snacks?
I usually have some sitting right next to my desk.
No,
I mean, you got some salty nuts there?
A little sea salt.
Oh, dry roasted?
Yeah, they weren't what I ordered, but the wife, that's all right. She got me peanuts. I'm still happy.
So, how'd you get started in IT, and then what ended up being your favorite class in college?
So IT,
that's right.
my father.
I forgot you were an IT major.
Mm-hmm.
You were an IT major to begin with.
You showed such promise.
Yeah, and then I did a 180.
And then Jeremy, as we talked about earlier, Jeremy showed up.
Yeah, I mean my dad always blamed Jeremy for my change path. No, that's.
I can't see that happening. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so in high school, I always did well in math, and I took physics and did really well in that. And I liked it, but that was your more basic, physics, talking about velocity and vectors, things like that, right? And I'm like, oh, well, this stuff is kind of neat. And my dad was an engineer by trade, very type A man, as you guys know, or at least you, Bruiser. I can't remember how much you really knew my dad Eric. But he's like, well, you should go for IT. I said, okay. So I went in, not knowing any better. So I went into IT. I got accepted at the instead of going for CLA at the University of Minnesota.
CLA, yeah.
And I
Did you have a pre-major then?
no, I didn't. I don't recall anyway having anything figured out yet. And to that point. But so I never had to study really in high school. High school stuff was pretty easy. So I get to college, all of a sudden it was like physics, calculus, chemistry, having labs, having 8 a.m. classes, which,
Yeah, all those classes were early. The tech classes were
especially for the
early,
freshman year, right? Like the 1000 level.
Oh, yeah,
they're
they're
always
real bad.
early because
Yeah.
why not? And so I struggled a bit because I wasn't used to having to study. I couldn't just show up to class and then pass a test easily. I got, instead of getting the A's like I was used to, surprisingly in high school, I was getting a lot of C's, and that wasn't getting easier with me not going to bed before like 2 o'clock every night and not studying. So yeah, my father and I had a sort of come to Jesus chat afterwards. He's like, do we need to take you out of school after that freshman year? I'm like, no. And he's like, well, do you think you need to stay in IT? I'm like, probably not. So yeah, that was the nexus of my decision to move to ultimately history. And I never really had a great reason for history outside of it was, I had taken AP history and AP European history in high school, and I could always easily remember dates and events, things like that. So I took it.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. Like, I loved it, but a lot of what I liked in high school for the AP European history course I took was the teacher. He's actually still there. I was literally, oddly enough, just looking him up today to see if he was on Facebook. Couldn't find him though. But yeah, his name is Don Perkins, and I just loved him. He was
Mr. Perkins.
Yeah, he was amazing. Like one of my most favorite teachers I've ever had. And so that was a big part of it. While in college, the personality of the teacher, it helps. But when you're, every class is 30 plus kids, it's not, especially at the U, it's not like you have it's not a small private school where you have 8 to 10 kids in a class. They're huge. You're lucky, especially like physics, calculus, some of those classes, we would have 150 kids in a lecture hall.
Yeah.
So,
and you're lucky if you get to know one of the professors.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
well,
I mean, there's just no personality to it. It takes, the kid, from a preparation standpoint, you need kids that are really internally motivated and driven to survive in an atmosphere like that right out of the gate, right out of high school. And I just wasn't ready for it.
It also feels like that. Yeah, it also feels like they're actively trying to weed people out right away too. Like that first year, like you said, there's so many labs, there's so many early meeting times, there's so many not easy classes right away either.
No, there was no fluff.
You think I took high school calculus, college calculus is going to be a walk in the park, and then you get done with the stuff you did like 3 or 4 weeks into it that you did in high school, and you're like, holy balls, there's a whole other thing going on, and if you're in IT, you got another 6 calculus classes after that to get through.
Yeah, it was.
And so I could see
it was intense. And again, I just wasn't ready mentally to take on that extra work. I was, after staying at home with my parents those first 18 years, I was, more interested in early on having some fun and just hanging out and meeting new people.
That's the same with me too. That was how we were both kind of in the same boat, where like my grades my freshman year were shit compared to my later years in college, because I just didn't, because just like you said, in high school I just floated through classes. Like it was so easy to not study and still get A's.
Yep. And if you did slide in high school, the teachers were more inclined, because it's part of their job, is to actually help nurture you and bring you along, and that's not necessarily the case in college as much, at least from my experience. Like, yeah, if I was slipping in a class, Mr. Perkins, for example, would come up to me and say, hey, what's going on here? In college?
Yeah, I think that might happen in a smaller
Yeah, I had an old coworker who went to I think he went to Carleton or something like that. He's like, yeah, I went here because I knew I needed help. And he's like, yeah, you couldn't miss class. They would come to your dorm room if you were missing, if you missed a class, and be like, hey, what's going on?
And it took attendance.
Exactly. Yeah. And at the U, when you're talking, again, like the smallest class you'd have is probably 25 people.
Yeah. The
They
U
don't
just wants
care.
to cash. The U just wants to cash your paychecks. Like, it is an educational institution, but they're not going to look out for you. Like, they have the resources there if you want to utilize them, but they're not going to. They're never going to knock on your door. They're never going to call you. They're never going to leave a message. They're never. Yeah, they're just going to let you fail or succeed on your own.
Yep. Yeah, it's. I mean, when they have what 40, I think the U. I mean, the U is huge. It has 40,000 or something like that underclassmen. So it's massive. So you can kind of see why that happens. But it is definitely easy to get lost, and so that's why ultimately why I left IT, and unfortunately for the first 8 to 10 years of my professional career, I became a history major. So that was it took a while to rebound from that that career path. As history, as you know, most history majors, if you're not going to get your PhD, then you teach. And I had thought about teaching. I applied 1 year to do get into the teaching program at the U. Didn't get in, and that was it. Then I was like, well, I'm not going to try this again because I need to make money and I can't afford to take more time off. Incur debt to get more of an education just to be not to just be a teacher, but to become a teacher. So that.
Yeah. It's weird how things are circular a little bit though, because now your job would be classified as IT mostly, right? And project
It's a
management.
bit consultative, right? So risk management and compliance, but I work with a specific third-party software. So it is kind of funny that it is kind of an IT role, but it's not like true coding. So
No, I mean, there's so many jobs that are coming out now that are, tangentially.
Yeah, I mean, I get
related
into
to
like the user experience,
IT.
right, as far as that, and trying to build out workflows and process.
And none of those jobs existed when we
Yeah,
were
it's
in
nothing.
college, so it's like that whole industry is.
Yeah, it's nothing like I want to go to college for this. This wasn't a thing, right? So much of what people do now wasn't a thing 20 years ago. It's kind of nuts.
Well, even for me, like I spent 90% of my time in college in a lab on a computer. Like,
Yeah,
that'd be unheard of now. Like, everybody's got a laptop. They get together and do things, but a lot of it, they're doing what we're doing now, and they're doing it virtually and not always in person, and that's how they're working on projects. So, like, all that stuff.
yeah. I wonder too. I mean, given getting that you got into programming and computer science, do you even wonder? Will people still go to school for that as much? Because so many people have access to all they need to learn that stuff now, and if they're motivated to do it, they're doing it well before college. They're developing their own apps, their own programs, right?
They're starting to, yeah.
So I just wonder how much.
Yeah. So there's a movement out there of people even big name computer people, tech people talking about how you don't need college, and it's an interesting viewpoint. I think, like a lot of the college stuff, I think some of that stuff is broken to begin with. Like, you shouldn't have to pay $50,000 a year or whatever some of these private schools are charging to get a four-year education and get out with $200,000 in debt and all this kind of crap. Like, how is that helping anybody? How is that setting them up to be successful? And if that's the bar, then maybe something
even
should change. Obviously,
the curriculum, from my perspective, is kind of ridiculous. Like, a lot of the things that you have to take from a CLA perspective, like, you must take a humanities class. Why the hell do I need to take a humanities class and have some guy just teach me over a quarter or trimester or semester, whatever the frequency is there of the classes, about a random painting, a random poem, and teach me his interpretation or his interpretation.
Well, some of that.
I mean, the concept of trying to make these well-rounded people. I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same point, it's so much of it isn't necessarily. I don't know. I don't see it as practical to an advanced education. That's something maybe you look at and try to get ingrained at middle school, high school, and then college.
Well, they're cutting so much of that stuff in middle and high school. Like, they're cutting art classes, they're cutting even gym and different things. So if they're not doing it,
and do you need it?
I
I mean, how much do you need it though? I mean, I can understand and appreciate certain things like that, but
No, I get that too. There is a movement in coding and IT where there's these things called code schools, and they're a certain number of weeks, and once you get out of them, a lot of times they have that first job lined up for you, or they have contacts to get you that first job. And so it's a 12-week intensive program. It's 40 hours a week. You're in a classroom environment with instructors, and then by the end, you're certified through that school. And when we were interviewing people, we got about 25% of the people were from a code school versus a 4-year traditional college a lot of the time. And so that stuff is changing in my industry, at least. I could see it changing in others too, but there's the old timers that look at that and they're like, well, you didn't go to a real college, so I'm never going to hire you. But you got to figure out a way to interview those people in a way that you can find out if they've got the ability to learn, got the motivation to, because 12 weeks isn't enough to know everything you're going to need
for
to
sure.
know on day one. And so no matter what you do, so there's got to be something maybe in between those, like 4 years and 12 weeks. But I don't know. If I had the answer, I'd be doing it and making money off of it, but I don't.
Well, and I think back to college and like all the stuff that I think that I learned and that like I use in my life is all the memories I have of spending time with like guys like you and some of our other friends. And I feel like that's the stuff that was really important to me. But then also like some of those, like I know what Pete was saying about the arts and humanities, but like I don't know that I would have known some of those things if I wouldn't have had them in the class. And it may not feel like it's something I utilize, but it's something that's in my mind now because of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Like some of my favorite classes were actually the art history and psychology classes that I took. Just I wouldn't have been exposed to it other than going to the school I went to and them forcing me to take some of those classes. But because I did not grow up going to museums and stuff like that.
That didn't happen here either.
That was not my childhood at all.
No, and maybe part of it was just like a couple of the teachers I had. Like I still remember that professor. I think it was George Krieger at the U for humanities, and I it was ridiculous how it was run and. It's literally his interpretation. This is it, and just remember how I tell you to interpret this painting or this book. But yeah, I mean,
I wonder if that's changed. Like I know, kind of like Facebook, there are these apps and things that the kids share and find out like which teachers are good and have interesting classes and things like that, and they kind of rate them, kind of like Glassdoor for companies. If they have a review 2 rating, it's probably not a great place to work, or they'll have comments about the management. They have versions of that for colleges now too, and I wonder if do kids actually use that, because that would be helpful. Like there were times I would drop a class because the professor was bad and pick up a different class, and by the time I had to take that CSI 5,000 whatever, I waited for a different professor because I knew I wasn't going to learn anything from one of the teachers.
I mean, it's amazing. You wouldn't. I mean, how much a professor, even though it is more of a distant relationship, how much the professor actually matters. I just think, Bruiser, like when our Egyptian history.
Yeah, that
class,
guy was a monster.
Truly, like a horrible person, I believe.
I can't remember his name, but yeah, there was him.
No,
and there was
allegedly.
Like, his other friend who was a teacher too, who would like literally like walked,
dressed like a Nazi,
dressed and walked like a Nazi. Like he walked in the Nazi like the kind of boot stomping.
He had the long trench coat. I don't know if you remember that. He had like the long leather trench coat.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
he literally came into class and in a long leather trench coat. I just remember this explicitly because this is the only class I ever did the withdraw from. And he came up. This is after the midterms, and kind of like Bruiser said, he stomped right with whatever, and then he came up and just slammed his fist down on like the little podium thing. And these tests were terrible. Blah blah blah. I was like, this is the worst like classroom situation I've ever been in. Although the professor, to his credit, the first day of class said, most of you are going to be lucky if you get C's.
Yeah.
Or, something like that. I never give out A's and B's.
If he's never given an A. He said he'd never given an A before.
That set the mood real nice and early that this is not going to be a fun experience, which was unfortunate because he had the information itself was, interesting.
He's a smart
he
guy.
had some different insight. Yeah. Like I remember explicitly him correlating or talking about how George Lucas, how much he stole from Egyptian history for Star Wars, and I can't remember the specifics now because it's been 20.
Yeah, he showed
years.
us images. There's a hieroglyph on like an Egyptian wall
Yeah.
that looks like the Millennium Falcon. And there are other things, other correlations, both in the imagery from ancient Egypt and also in some of the storytelling that was integrated into the Star Wars mythos.
Yeah, I could believe it. I could, totally see something like that.
Oh,
Was he a
he's
younger guy? Or
50-ish
was
probably then.
Yeah.
he already kind of set in his ways? Yeah.
I also found out from an old TA I had in another history class that he had like he had multiple not lawsuits but like different complaints whatever raised against him for the way he treated some of the female students and female
teaching assistants.
TAs. Yeah, which wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, it was again kind of interesting, but I ended up dropping it because it was a miserable. I know you suffered through it or stuck with it.
I got to see. He predicted correctly.
Yeah. Well, I think I got a D on my midterm, which was the only time. Like that was by far the worst grade I'd ever gotten in school. I got a lot of C's when I was in IT that first year, but I don't think I ever got a D on anything.
So when did you guys meet our friend group mostly? I mean, I came in later, obviously, but was it that freshman year? Which dorm were you in?
He was more or less in territorial.
Jeremy was in St.
I mean,
Paul,
he literally he would spend six or 7 days a week at our dorm. He'd go back during the day to get clothes and whatnot, but he'd shower in our dorm. He
never quite got the mic drop to move out. Is that what you're saying?
I was trying, but it just never happened.
Squeeze him out.
When did we met most people sophomore year? Like, I mean, we met TD freshman year, but we didn't really become friends with him till later.
Yeah, sophomore years.
Yeah, well, he lived down the hall from
that
Pete.
early on?
That's the only reason we knew him.
Yeah,
most of the people we met freshman year in territorial, like we didn't retain friendships with. It was sophomore year in Comstock that we really met everyone.
Yeah, Haskovic is the only kid that I think He's 43 now.
Haskell's the only one any of us really still.
He's the only one that I really.
He's a grown
42.
man.
I think his birthday's coming up soon. But yeah, he's the only one I remember that we really kept a relationship with from freshman year.
I mean, I still think about Stacy Deppner all the time, but we're not friends with her anymore.
Or ever.
or ever. Yeah.
That might have been in your head too.
Yeah, no, but we met in Comstock. We met Jeffrey, and then through Jeffrey we met everyone else for the most. Is kind of how it.
The social butterfly.
And we went to
we
went to Comstock because Sink lived there. Sink and Todd Myers.
Todd.
Yeah.
And then we met you through Jeff, and then Langer through you. Yeah.
Because they lived across the hall from each other.
So when we met Jeffrey because we'd heard about this guy who hadn't attended class in like 3 weeks, who lived in the dorm, and he would come out of the bathroom in his in his robe, and like that was he was just this like legendary. And then they put the
satellite dish in their
dish.
room.
Yeah, they put the satellite dish on the roof. They broke onto the roof and put a satellite dish and wound it down to the room.
Oh yeah,
and it was.
I helped them.
And they had a
that.
cat.
Yeah, they had a cat.
Like
they had Joe Boo.
Like this.
Yeah, Joe Boo.
Yeah, they just. I mean, obviously, I don't think they had a great sophomore year between them. But they made a name for themselves between Jeff and Matt McCoy, for sure.
Yeah, there's this comedian that Rolling Stone did a magazine article, and he was like a 6 or 7 year senior. And it was like labeled the biggest party animal in the United States for around the same time that we were going to college. And they made the movie Van Wilder about about his life. Yeah. It's like based on he optioned his college story, and so I feel like they could make a Jeffrey and Entourage.
I mean, Jeffrey got kicked out of Comstock
movie
Hall
if they really wanted to.
And when I was a freshman, when I lived in St. Paul, there was a dude who lived down the hall from me who one night came back so drunk that he broke all of the sinks and all of the stall doors in the men's bathroom, and then kicked out the water fountain like in the hallway, and then urinated down the hall to his room.
Yeah.
So they knew who it was because they followed the urine trail to his door. He didn't get kicked out of the dorm. Like, he made it through the rest of that year.
He survived that. That's fucking amazing. I know that. Like, I lived there the year after that. You guys moved out and into the house or whatever. Wasn't there often. I was more at your guys' place, like 90% of the time. But it went downhill even further after that. Like, we'd have meeting after meeting about people breaking lights and breaking windows out. Like, half the floor got suspended from college during the year.
Yeah,
that's
when
Cameron and I
started
lived
dating.
next door to each other.
Yeah, you wonder if they ever put like cameras on the different floors to monitor. Yeah, right.
I can tell you.
Well, they have to.
I can tell you then they didn't because I worked for Comstock. There was no cameras.
And
Yeah.
by working, you meant
No, yeah, no. I used to
sleeping
sleep
in
on the landing
corridors
on the
and-
6th floor on the girls' side of the dorm, just on the linoleum landing,
because it was nice and quiet
in a stairwell.
in the stairwell.
Because I was generally
No
still drunk.
no foreshadowing at all.
Because we'd been drinking till 4 a.m. the night before.
So were you the one that had to clean up when we dropped
I
that
had to sleep it off. Yeah, I totally get it.
gallon jug of apple cider
Yeah,
down the
I
stairwell?
cleaned that up. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. I knew because I started cleaning up, and then I was like, oh, like it was all of the contents of our mini fridge, and I was like, oh, because you had come back the night before me. It was like
I wonder where
break,
this
and you
came
come back
from.
The night before, I came back the next day, had to work, and I was told to go clean up stuff in that stairwell. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is all the shit that we had in our mini fridge.
This is my pint of ice cream.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a
God
violent
damn it.
drunk, but I was a stupid one, and just like most people. Oh, we
You
made
could've
sure
killed
nobody's
somebody
down there.
right there.
Yeah, I can't remember if we had a
No one-
scout down there.
No
Not
one,
sure.
no one walked up that stairwell. That's the smoker's side
No.
of the dorm with 6 stories up.
No.
No way.
Well, that was one time that Jeff and McCoy got in a lot of trouble, was like bombing the parking lot
Oh, yeah.
attendant that
Yeah, you guys
was
were
like right
throwing-
outside their window.
Oh, and the
They would
little
just throw
shed
shit
thing, or
down
the
on
little.
Todd Myers
you
was
know,
there for
the
that. I remember
little-
they were throwing
Oh,
beer
yeah.
bottles and shattering them
Oh.
on the parking lot attendant.
At one point, yeah. It started off more innocent than that, but by the end, it was trying to get the person's
Yeah.
attention
That'll
and
do
really
it.
hit it with something. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! So that's when you guys met everybody. That's interesting. I think I knew.
Yeah, I don't
most
know.
of that.
Well, no. How do we meet? Oh, because Jeff lived with.
So-
he lived in the dorm with Johnny. He lived with the Park Falls boys the year before in the dorm, and so we knew we
Yeah.
met the
In,
all the Park Falls
Pioneer,
kids because
yeah.
we met
I remember
Jeffrey,
that too.
and then he introduced us to the Park Falls kids.
I remember Bill and Krista from that first year and hanging out in Jeff's room and getting pizza and, BW3s and shit like that. So I knew them a little bit before that, but, I was so busy
Rub it in.
going to class that I didn't party. I did not party much that first year at all. I was much like Peter. I was trying to not flunk out. My grades weren't great. I mean, I had mostly B's, but it was not what I was
I
used to
remember
at that point.
my first memory of you, old man, was we'd gone somewhere with Jeffrey. I think it was when Bill used to have the fake ID and he'd go on like the beer run and he'd get beer for people in Comstock. And we went and
Yeah.
it was you, me, and Jeffrey. We were standing outside this thing and Bill had gone into like that liquor store down Lake Street or whatever it was, wherever we went for it. And then Jeffrey went somewhere to do something and suddenly you and I were alone and I'm not good at talking to people I don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck
Just
am I supposed
stuck.
to say to this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
We
old
stood
man's
there in
not going to be the
silence
one
for
to
a good
break the
20
ice there.
minutes. This guy doesn't want to talk either. This is perfect. No one has to
And
talk.
that was when you, I just, I still laugh thinking all the different lies you would tell Bruiser and I, as we got to know each other. And the things that we found out later, oh my God, he lied about this. And you just, for whatever reason, you lied to these guys that you were just starting to know just for the hell of it, which was
Who's
hilarious.
Who's the credit card scheme guy that went to? Yeah, McCormick.
McCormick.
Talking to him about it.
Well, my friend group in high school was that way. We weren't friends with a lot of other people, but when we go to their parties and stuff, we just make shit up. What have you guys been doing lately?
Well, I remember-
Oh, we're in a band. We do this. That's why you don't see us very often. Our girlfriends are at Woodbury High School. So
I was telling a coworker about Daddy Soul Donut the other
that was
day.
normal.
And talking about how a few years after college, you called me up to go out for drinks with some of your old high school friends, and we were at the Irish place. What's it called? It moved over by the stadium now,
Kieran's?
but it used to be kind of that off place.
Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. And we were there.
Yeah,
and,
it's
and,
Kieran's,
and
yeah.
your friends were talking to me about
No, they're-
oh, do you guys ever play any shows anymore? Has Daddy Soul done it? And I started laughing, and you gave me this look no, they think it's real.
You gotta play this. You gotta play this true, buddy. You're in this now. It's so much fun. I don't know why not everybody does it. It's great.
And then
I
what
teach
did
my
what did
kids,
Daddy
is that
Soul Donut
right?
become? What was the when Pete got kicked out of the band?
Afterwards,
Because He didn't. Well, I had a dinner party when I lived in St. Paul. And
Yeah, what did
he
Pete do
didn't
again?
show
I
up.
forget.
Yeah, he didn't come, so we kicked him out of the
Oh,
band.
Was my
he didn't
foot,
come
my
up.
ankle still broken? Because
Uh,
remember, that's one of my ankles
Um,
broken.
No, it's not the ankle break. You know, this was
I
you
don't
and
remember that
Steph
story,
were
but-
together, but you weren't married yet. My name is Tim. I'm a lesser known character. Yeah.
Was it My Name is Tim? Yeah. That was
Yeah.
a follow up to this hugely successful Daddy Soul Donut. It was more of a punk style versus punk ska. So we were a little.
When
more
were you guys
hardcore
going to tell me I got booted
the
out?
second version.
We told you that
iteration.
night. I remember
Oh,
old
did
man,
you? Okay.
old man just yelling at you on the phone because you weren't going to show up.
Yeah.
You're out of the band. You're not a part of this anymore.
You're out of the band.
We didn't talk for 4 years. No.
We're getting the band back together.
I was a
Finally
dancing
playing
guy, right? So I don't
reunion
have to
show.
actually worry about anything here. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah,
Just like the Boss Tones, you were the.
Well,
you
usually
were
am
very
anyway.
Sweaty at the
Sarah,
end of
Sarah
it,
Riley
but,
was
whatever.
our drummer, but she lost both of her arms in a weird, like it was some kind of like screen door incident. Like they got ripped off by a screen door or something. Yeah, I mean the story was concocted
Yep,
about
I remember
halfway
that.
through the day. We started drinking at the beginning of the cartoon festival for MTV. So, yeah,
Yeah, she made the band, but then immediately lost her
Yeah.
arm somehow.
she was just
Shame.
an
And we
honorary
had to kick her
member.
out.
But I
That
got
seems like us.
booted. I mean,
Well, she couldn't drum anymore.
Well, no, you were a part of Daddy Soul Donut. You never made it through
Well, 'cause you
till
didn't
My
show
Name
up
is
to-
Tim. I mean, you were a part of the ska days, not the punk days.
Yeah. So you guys did a lot of gaming up in Comstock as well, then, right? You guys would have a bunch of gaming parties. and bullshit
we
over
did
at
a
St.
bit. I
Peter's.
mean, like,
Todd's
so we
place.
did some of the. Actually, I think we had more people in our room to do like the NBA Live, and it was usually just like, yeah, usually Todd and I just yelling at each
NBA
other,
Jam.
playing that game until the wee hours. But what's the game? Resident Evil had just come out, right? Like that was huge. And so I do remember, I never played it
yeah.
because I've never been good at those types of games. But I remember going to Todd and Sinkula's room and watching people play Resident Evil quite regularly. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I was always in Jeff's and McCormick's room, and they would come over and play once. in a
Yeah,
while.
they're
So
actually,
that's
well,
how
they
I
had
kinda
the
knew them outside of you
N64,
guys,
so
because
that
we're
was
little,
like our introduction to that too, because that was,
Oh,
they had
that's right.
gotten
Yeah, that
that.
was Jeff's room. Yeah.
They had the NBA
NBA
Jam,
Jam,
and well, they didn't have Bond, so I don't recall playing Bond there.
They had that game
was,
where you'd ride the jet ski. I remember the jet ski game.
yeah, I forgot about that.
It was,
Oh yeah, that game sucked.
and then they also had Playboy
I can't
TV
remember the name of that
on
one.
their satellite. I remember watching.
Yeah, come on, Bruiser, keep
No, we're talking about video games here.
stay on track. But they did have it. Was it
Yeah,
night,
one-track
night
mind.
calls?
Come
Whatever.
Night calls, yeah, we'd all get together, which is
The
just
talk
weird.
show.
There'd be like 15 of us in there
Oh, my
standing like
Lord.
shoulder to shoulder watching Playboy TV, and it's like this doesn't feel
Ju-
correct.
It just felt so taboo, though. Like in a dorm with cable. Yeah, it just, I don't know.
With cable in a dorm or satellite, yeah. With guys that never
Exactly.
left the dorm room to go to class. But could, like,
When
get
they had
girls
the-
to come over and all
they
that.
got that
kind
lounge chair in there.
It was
and,
bizarre.
it was like
It was a
the
bizarre
entire
lifestyle.
room was just the lounge chair, like outside of the beds.
Yeah.
You just had to stand around the perimeter of it.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah, I totally remember that. We went into the
Oh, yeah,
furniture
that
store
was-
to pick that.
yeah.
Because I had that stupid truck, that little truck. I helped them bring that stupid
Did
lounge
you
chair to the room.
Sucking to that.
And yeah, and McCoy ended up dating one of the people from the furniture store. Like, went on a date with her. Shockingly. Like, they picked up
That
a
doesn't
girl
surprise me at
a
all.
furniture store. That was in her mid-20s at the time. And these are freshmen in college.
That's just how they rolled.
Fucking bizarre. But yeah. So when did you guys
That
get
was-
into
That was
GoldenEye?
sophomore year.
When did that actually happen? Was that
Yeah,
That was
before Como?
that was
It had to
sophomore
be
year
before.
because that's where. Wait, where did we live sophomore year?
no Comstock.
Yeah.
It was the year after that. It would have been
Or junior
it was
year,
the
I'm
first-
sorry, yes.
It would have been
Jun-
yeah.
Our first year in.
The,
It was 8th Street. Yeah,
8th
yeah,
Street
it was
house,
8th
yeah.
Street.
Was it A Street then?
Yep. We spent. Oh yeah, anybody that
That was a
like,
seminal
in
game
those,
for a lot of
just
people.
those 2 or 3 years. Any male that went to college and lived on campus most assuredly played and participated in like big gaming sessions playing GoldenEye. But it was that small window. Like, it's because everything
Yeah.
changed so quickly. PlayStation 2 came out around like 2000, I think. 2001. Yeah. So I mean, it was just it was a very narrow
It was right
window.
in there, yeah.
But yeah, that game was huge.
Yeah, in the IT community,
Yep.
everybody was networking their computers together and playing Doom at the time. So it was still like first person shooter ish. I preferred Bond as well, but I didn't have an N64, so
Yeah, I forget how
played it
big Doom was because I never played
places
games
mostly.
on the computer. But yeah,
It was huge. Like people still bring up like pictures of them like networking their computers together. There were certain dorms that just had network cables going from one end of the dorm to the other, just so that they could play this one game basically and share music files and shit.
yeah,
like
it
that.
was. I forgot. Yeah, how big that was, and just the concept of actually getting together to play video games. Yet, right? I mean, you still had to. A lot of times, you were still playing together. Now, Doom, yeah, sometimes. You could play online, but for the console units, that wasn't a thing for a long time yet. So,
When I remember,
Yeah,
like,
that was-
like EverQuest, when that came out of like a year after we were
And
done
it-
with college, and that game was like the first huge, online presence. I remember Johnny A playing that game all the time because I lived with him and Rebecca.
Yeah, playing. I remember that too. What do you think it was about GoldenEye that?
I think
other
that was.
than
Sorry, I'm
you could
trying
play
to
4
adjust my
players.
cord. I think that was part of it. It was a multiplayer. Well, I forgot to plug my laptop
what you're
in, so
calling
it's
it these
dying.
days?
I think that was a lot of it. Was for a first-person shooter, it was easy to pick up. I've never been good at them, but whatever reason, GoldenEye I could pick up.
Well, and I think
Yeah,
I love that controller. I
and that
love that
stupid-
controller.
Stupid controller.
I think that's the
Oh,
best
it was
controller
nice.
I've ever played.
Still
with.
mad about it.
Once you
You loved it?
learn, like how it works, like you can like
You were the one.
you could do so much with that controller. But yeah, it's got a learning curve to it for sure.
I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah, but for a first-person shooter, it was set up perfectly from my
Yeah,
perspective.
no doubt.
Yeah, because it was so. Yeah, it was right there.
With that little toggle, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew how to do like the side
The
stepping
trigger was
and
in
the
the right
ducking
place.
and all of that. Like was so.
Yeah.
Once again, it was a learning curve, but once you got it down, like you didn't have to think about it. It was just like almost natural just to move your hands over that controller the way you wanted your character to move.
Yeah, and I think too, just the N64 picking up so much steam
Yeah.
at that time that was maybe part of it too. Is kind of the next big game on the next big console, and it was meant to be played with other people. It was just
Yeah.
totally meant to be played group style.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing
I
about it.
never
like,
played-
I don't remember
I never
playing
played the
much
story.
of the story at all, ever. It was always...
I don't know.
Would you go back and play the
I
story?
played it.
don't
I
know
played
to
it all
see
the
what
way
it
through
was?
several times. I mean, it just follows the movie exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I know it does, but like, I don't... like.
Yeah,
I don't think I
may
got
have
past
played
the first
couple
level.
The first
scenes.
the
Yeah,
first
That's all
level
I
is actually
remember.
probably one of the most fun levels because it's the
Getting
snipe.
through.
You do a lot of the sniping on that one, and
And that's pretty hard.
There's
in that
a
game,
little
too.
curve, but it's way easier.
not
Like
very good at
I
it.
get the kids now. We're trying to play like
Star Wars.
Star Wars Battlefront, and I cannot aim that damn thing for my life. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you barely
It's
touch it. Yeah, getting stuck jumping
And
in the corner.
Pete's in a corner.
Like
just
I
jumping
have to be a
around, getting
Jedi. I
stuck.
need a guy with a lightsaber because I can't shoot these damn guns at all. Exactly. Thank you. I mean, I would
You're
play
more hand-to-hand
Bond on
anyways, I
slaps,
understand.
slaps only.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
What was your favorite character?
You couldn't be Odd Job
Goldeneye.
because
Wouldn't
every
be
shot
always
was right
play.
to
yeah,
your
it was a
head.
headshot.
Yeah, so that didn't work out too well. I wasn't worried so much about the character. I'd be,
Yeah.
was it Onatop? What was her name? First name? I'd be anybody.
Yeah,
but
it didn't matter.
the weapons, it had to be the one with
Yeah.
proximity mines because you had the best assault rifle, the AR-33, and the proximity mines, and that was like
Well, then
bar none
Yeah.
the best like game scenario.
and Pete and I, when we used to duel each other, we learned all the spawn spots. So you just go around and layer the spawn spots with proximity mines, and then it's whoever dies first then dies like another 12 times in a row.
Yeah, and I love how
And that
like that
person
would
just
became like
curses
I think
for,
that
like,
was a very
20
common
minutes.
thing for everybody, right? Was that played it. It's like proximity mines in respawn spots,
Yeah.
but like you felt like you were doing something new and creative. Because there wasn't great means of communicating that out to the world. That you could maybe find some sort of forum. I forget what those were. Like an old bulletin board or something like that. But
Discussion, yeah.
everything
Bulletin
was
board.
word of mouth for a lot of us.
No.
Nobody really had cell phones.
Yeah, I mean
Anything
most of the forums online were old fat men in sync pretending to be young handsome men picking up girls.
And Sync was just out there to get Metallica bootlegs.
No, Sink used to love to go on those forums and pretend to be like. No, Sink liked to pretend to be a young girl and see what kind of old guys he could get.
Just catfish.
Seriously? I don't remember that at all.
So absolutely nothing's changed, is what you're saying.
Yep.
The
Yeah, but
internet's
we did.
still
We did have
exactly
one.
the same.
We had one epic Bond match where we did do the slaps and we did the one hit, one kill. So if you just slap someone once, they die. And Peter and I went around slapping at each other.
Yeah.
It was fun though. I don't know,
Uh,
but those were like some of my most favorite
I
nights.
forgot
was
about the
whether it's just
slaps,
you and I
yeah.
and Bruiser,
That's
or
crazy.
like a small group of us, just sitting and playing Bond,
Well,
drinking beers.
I love it.
and-
I love that people used to love to watch us play it.
Yeah.
Like they'd want us to play it. Like no one else. I don't want to play the game. I just want to watch you and Pete kill each other for an hour while we drink.
Yeah.
and I want to sit here and drink this beer. Yeah. Little did you know,
Right?
you're
Like,
doing
if
the first
Twitch was a
form of,
thing, Bruce and I would be
online
retired.
gaming,
If it was a
people just
thing back
watch
then.
other people play games.
No, we'd be retired if we had Twitch for 20 years. There's no way
You'd be
I'm doing that for
twitching.
20 years.
But that was the same
Twitchers,
time
yeah.
though that what was that old the gaming network, the gaming TV show network, G4. Yeah, and they used to play. I used to watch through the middle of the night. They'd have like
Yeah,
shows that were
G4,
just
yeah.
people playing video games, and you just watch them play video games. And I used to watch that all the time. Like I'd fall asleep to watching someone play like a racing game.
Future
We
prophetic or whatever. All right, so we talked about custom characters for a while there. What other games?
what was the car Twisted
guys-
Metal?
Like,
Oh my
Oh,
god,
Twisted
Twisted
Metal.
Metal,
That was-
was amazing.
oh yeah,
You couldn't. I don't think you could customize them, but it
change
didn't
the
matter.
cars at all? I know the gameplay was super.
And
fun.
what was
No.
the wrestling game
Could you
on the
imagine being
N64
able-
that we
yeah.
used to play all the time too?
Was that ECW? Was that an ECW?
It was it was just one of the. But it had
'Cause I don't think it. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was WWE or ECW or
who's that giant guy?
It wasn't
the Who guy.
Who's the giant guy who
WrestleMania
wore like
arcade
the
games
Tarzan?
was awesome.
Was he just called Giant, or was he? No, not Andre the Giant though. But he was
Andre the Giant.
Big
I think
Show?
you're talking
Big
about
Show.
the one
Yeah,
strap.
Big Show. And
He had like the single strap. Yeah.
yeah, and he would just get whenever you'd play as Big Show, you'd always get people bloody just because you just
Yeah.
clock them in the face.
I forgot they would go bloody with their face.
Jeff Hammer.
Yeah, that was a fun game.
Well, you remember when sports games like it was like hockey? You were allowed to just beat on the guy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
eventually have a bloody.
And then they
face
took it
and
out because people
all over
complained,
ice
and then
would
they
be,
brought
you know,
it back
just
a year
a
later because they got rid of
bloodbath.
like the blood and the fighting. I think in like for '95, NHL Live '95, I think, and then they brought it back for the next one because they realized why do we care if a few people are mad that there's like 8-bit blood on the screen? Like yeah. No, that was
like 3 splotches of.
that was fun. Yeah, because
pixels that
they
are-
had the fighting too, even back in like the NHL Live '94, and then yeah, you'd get like the bar and have to hammer back and forth. I'm trying to think if fighting was like a skill because it must have been. There must have
Yeah.
been like an attribute. I'm trying to recall
Oh,
if it
like-
was. It's been a while, but
Like they actually rated. Yeah. No.
because yeah, some guys would just get whooped. You know, you get a guy like
It
Ty
probably
Domi or
was.
somebody like that, and he'd just destroy people. Tony Twist,
Yeah.
the goons.
So this is the part where we probably bring back in the conversation
Well.
about the awesomeness or lack thereof of Brutal Six and and other. I don't want to go for another 20 minutes on this, but
Big Red
other
Holly.
great known players of like Big Butt Holly
Hell of a defensive tackle. Uh, So
or
the funny
else?
thing,
I have my own,
I
but
forget
they're
which
all
game it
kinda
was. I
crappy.
started with
I'm trying to remember some of the
with
names.
Brutal Six, and I have no idea how I got the name, so I can't give you any insight there. But
I
there was a
think-
wrestler.
I think
I got nothing.
if I recall correctly, I was there when you
Why
made
it's a
Brutal Six.
6
If I recall
versus a 7?
correctly, you wanted to call him Brutal, and like somehow you put a 6 on the end by accident, and then just decided to keep it. Like
It could be that way, or I can't remember if I needed a last name. Like
it was something like you hit a button, like because you were like it wasn't like correct at first. You were just like no, but then you were like, and like I was making fun of you, and I think so that made you want to keep it even more because I was making fun of it so much. And
it does actually. Yeah, I would.
That doesn't
We
sound
would
like
do
you
things
at all.
to spite each other all the time. Oh yeah. I mean, to this day, Jeremy will still drink wild cherry Pepsi in front of me
And
just
just
because
dig
he
in
knows
and
how
just, keep going
disgusting
with
I
it.
find
I
it.
do. I send him texts about it when I drink it.
He doesn't care for it. I don't.
I do not like wild cherry Pepsi at all.
I thought it was your favorite.
That's like me actually always wanting to go to Applebee's with Jeremy. I don't care for Applebee's, but I go there because it makes him angry. Yeah. But yeah, so I
Tradition
forget
is
what game it
tradition.
was. So like around 2001, 2002, I was hanging out quite a bit with Sync, and we had a couple. We created them. I recreated Brutal 6 on whatever video game that was.
I remember
And
being
I
really, really pissed when you recreated Brutal 6. Like, you brought
yeah.
them back. It just irritated me.
Sure, Resurrected is fine. Yep.
Instead of recreated, can we say resurrected?
And so I created a guy also named Seamus, who was this like really pale guy
Oh, fuck.
and
I forgot
bright
about
red
Seamus.
hair. And then if you look, and I don't know if you've ever, but I could swear I have a lawsuit in my hands if I can find my old PS2 drive, or like if I have like a memory stick that I backed it up onto. Because if you look, there's a WWE guy named Seamus these days who looks just like my character. Like even Steph goes, "Oh my," this is a couple of years ago when we first shot him. She's like, "Oh my god, that looks like your old wrestler guy." I'm like, "Yes, it does." So I could swear, yeah, it was
it's like you brought him to life
and
somehow.
uncanny how much he looks like my old character. Just this big pale dude.
Wow. Now I'm gonna go to Pro Football Reference and find out.
The funny thing is,
a Big Butt Holly that showed up in the NFL. Maybe it's
the creative
maybe
from
it's
the
not
creative
just one.
genius
Maybe
of
it's like all of your
Pete
characters
Martin.
eventually showed up somewhere.
The one name I don't think I ever really used was Gooch. So like the one nickname I kind of had, I don't think I ever used in any game. I don't know. Why is it nicknames don't stick to me, or why did I not use the Gooch?
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't use.
We don't
Gooch.
have
I
the
might have
time
used
for
it
you
randomly,
to know
but
the
it's
answers.
not one that I ever carried over from like video game to or console to console. No, and Brutal 6 was never used. Just to
Because
be
it
very
wasn't
clear,
as good as
outside of
Brutal 6,
wrestling
we all
games.
know why.
Clearly a wrestler. Yeah.
Well, clearly a wrestler.
I don't know.
But
Because
it
who would have
wasn't.
a
It's not
number
even
for
his
a
last name because there's
in
no
any sporting
space between the Brutal and the 6.
simulation.
It's just all one.
Yep.
I think that's what
I-
irritated me the most was there's no space between Brutal and the 6.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I mean, I'm
And
not
again,
gonna
that's why I think if
judge
I
either
remember
way,
correctly,
but
that's
probably
how his name is
probably
because you
needed
hit
a space.
a button by mistake and it put a 6 at the end of Brutal.
That actually sounds like that's a totally like plausible explanation, right? That is something I would do is fat thumb something and say, "Oh, hey, I like this." It's how I named one of our. It's how I named one of our kids. Really?
This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
You fat
we meant to
fingered
name Axel Alex, and I screwed it up.
it? You did what now? How did that happen?
Not at all.
Oh, Alex. So
I probably have to drop off in a minute too. You can cut that part out.
hold on. Yeah, I will cut that part out. So maybe the last part we'll just end with is Jeremy. Do you have any questions for
shit.
Pete? Anything you've always wanted to ask him that you've never?
Oh, I'm not prepared for that. I have to think
On the
for a second
podcast.
here.
It's an ask me.
Did I sign anything?
Where's you think for this? I mean, you could ask why
Why did I randomly show up to some dinner?
why he didn't show up. That
my biggest
day
question
to-
that's been bothering me for 20 years is
Oh,
why the fuck did you ever make Brutal 6?
Uh-oh. Put your phone down.
he honestly spite.
I would get
Again, like
I would get so angry when you would win a wrestling match with Brutal 6. I'd be so
he's
mad.
extremely talented. Yeah. He was an embodiment of
He's an
who
up
I
and
wanted
comer.
to be.
He's in the next league.
Tall, masculine, handsome, in shape, nice tattoos. Yep.
Sweet tattoo. Yeah, you should give
I
everybody
don't know
a
if I
little,
can. I don't know if I can do his
description,
physical
'cause,
appearance justice.
not everybody's got the
Um,
mental picture of
he
what
was-
Brutal 6 is.
He had green hair. I remember that.
Green hair,
Who
green
does he most
eyes,
look like?
green facial hair.
I think it was the green facial hair that really set me off.
Yeah, because it was a matching package there on the head. Everything matched, and then I'm trying to remember the tattoos. So I know he had I remember he had a serpent tattoo on one of his legs, and I'm pretty sure he wore jorts.
Maybe think.
Yeah. Now, the jorts. I'm
No
trying to remember if the
shoes.
jorts were also like a Hulk
Jorts and no
green,
shoes.
or if those were like regular blue jorts.
I think they were just blue. If I remember correctly, they were just blue jorts.
And then I'm trying to remember if he had a tattoo on his back as
He did.
well.
He had a tattoo on his back.
Yeah.
Was it fringe? Well, the jorts
But
were
they
cut
were
off,
rip-off.
I think.
Like,
Yeah,
they
the
had
jort-
fringe. I
yeah,
remember
they were
there being
definitely
some
cut
fringe.
offs. So it was a cheap.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
My apologies.
This is the kind of detail our listeners
I think he might have had like a neck tattoo. I'm trying to recall. Did he? Again, man, it's
He had tattoos.
18 years.
He had tattoos everywhere. You
It might have been
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, I'm trying to picture him. And
Was
so
it-
I've, in
was
that
it a
new,
tribal
the
tattoo
new wrestling
around
game,
his
the WWE 2K20. I'm trying to recreate him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I sent them the pic of Brutal,
You
the
did-
new Brutal
you did
6
send me
He
the
might just
picture.
in a
leave it today.
duster, which was
Yeah.
He did not. I think no, he did not respond.
I kicked my
Did-
garbage can over.
Did he respond to it though?
He hit the dog. No,
Hmm.
it's not Bartleby's fault. So how about you, old man? Do you have a question?
Oh, brutal. Sick.
You thought-
For you, I don't know if I could top that one. Were you?
I think at that point
Sad
I'd
when
already
you
kind
got
of
kicked out of
emotionally and
David Silva?
mentally moved on from being a member. Just to level set. I mean, just to bring anybody that actually
you're on to
listens
your
to this thing up to speed.
you're
When
on to your
Daddy
next
Sold It
project
was
without us.
created, it was literally the weekend after I broke my ankle in an accident we can maybe save for another chat. So I was laid up. I had a cast on.
Both old man and I are involved in that ankle breaking. So
Yeah, one of you more than the other.
yeah, but we're both. I did punch it several times after it was potentially broken.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I was pretty laid up, and then you guys started drinking at like
Already
9 in the
fractured?
morning. And I was the only one in the whole place that showed up that was sober, which is never fun. Like, you realize, I think part of the reason I drink when I did is so I wasn't the only one not drinking. So Daddy Sold It was created on literally a full day of drinking, and I was the only sober guy, so I got relegated to being the dancer in the group. Which
Yeah, I think
also,
that was,
yes,
that
I
was the
think
reason.
that was. I think that's how it was
Mostly
kind of
because
a
you had a
slap in
broken
the
foot.
face.
Because that part was hilarious.
Reference to my broken ankle with that assignment or that role. So yes, I felt kind of disengaged from the band to begin with because I did not partake in the day of drinking.
Yeah,
I did not partake in the band. I was just kind of an afterthought.
I was just saying, I don't know.
Oh, you guys were having a blast. Yeah, no, it's a.
Did it look
one of
like we were
like,
having fun?
There's
at
a few
least?
parties that you remember, that I remember that like I wasn't there for, or was there and I didn't participate. Because more often than not, if I was there, I participated. But that was like one of the 2 or 3 that I'm like, damn it, I wish I could have like been a part of that day more.
I have pictures still from that day. I've got pictures of me and old man wrestling
day was a blur. I don't
on the
remember
floor when we were
much.
playing Sega Genesis. We were playing basketball at one point, and I've got a picture of us like after we did the run around the house, like through the cold. And I've got probably like 6 or 7 pictures. I should have. Well, I know. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
you
was.
guys were running with your shoes off.
Yeah.
That much
There
I
was snow
recall.
outside, wasn't there? Jesus.
Yeah, I think we took our pants off too. No, that was a different time.
Was that the?
That was a
I think
different
that was
party.
one of
Was
the.
that the time I broke the cutting board then too, or was that a different?
I think that was
That was
another party.
That'd have been-
when I
been-
didn't go. I think I went
That'd have
up.
been too
I
much
went
for
up
one
to Canada
one
like
party.
right after we moved into the house. I think like September, right before school started, right around Labor Day, and I went up to Canada with my dad and a couple of his buddies to go fishing, and that's when you guys had another big party there, and I wasn't a part of it. And I think that's where you broke the window or something in the door.
Yeah, and there's
Um,
he got so mad, and he was the stairwell down
Yeah.
to the basement. You know, it
And
gets
the
so
cutting board,
dark
yeah.
in there at night, and he'd broken the window, and like we'd cleaned it all up, and he was mad about that, and then like he disappeared, and like I went looking for him, and I came out in the kitchen, and he was hiding in the shadows in that little like entryway, and like I look around, and then he just like came out like screaming with like doing like the windmill arms. And hit the rug. The rug just like flew out underneath him, and he went backwards and his head and like shoulder took the cutting board and just like shattered it in half. And then he hit the floor, and I just remember standing over and going like, "You gonna calm down now?" And he's, "Yeah, I'll calm down now. Yeah." And then you laid out there in the kitchen for like another 20 minutes. Like you wouldn't get up.
So graceful.
You were so mad.
Oh.
There's nothing there I would dispute, even though I
That
wasn't
sounds
there
about
for
right.
that moment.
And I remember nothing else about that party that night. Like I don't remember what party, what we were doing, if there was any reason to get together, or if it was just. I mean, it probably was just to get together and drink. But
Yeah, I don't think we looked for reasons.
yeah, I think we tried to have like I think like the first couple parties we had at 8th Street were like we
It wasn't all.
tried
It
to have a
wasn't.
reason for it,
Yeah.
and then after that we just started. Yeah, it just became the place that we all drank at.
You're gonna take
Well,
some
we're
creative
definitely cutting
liberties with.
this question out. So, as the editor, this will not.
But you want to
this will
bring up
never-
the you want to bring up
see the
the
light of day because my kids might someday
the
listen to
tea
this,
and what's
so,
her face, Martha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I didn't tell the story. I just said the names.
There's no story, and maybe that's the problem.
They
That
would be.
is the
They would be
problem.
proud of you.
No regrets.
Literally, that's what has been the problem for the last 20 years. No regrets. Well, I can't think enough.
Well, no,
for all the
happy to
time.
do it. Happy to join you again if you guys want.
Give it a little
Yeah,
chucker
that'd be
at the end. Chuck, Chuck,
Lots more we can go through if you want.
nah, blah. That'd be great.
Yep. Perfect.
We'll never talk to you again. It's been great.
Checks in the mail, I assume.
Hope you have a good quarantine, and we'll see you in 2021.
Okay, noted.
Free podcast so far, free. Patreon maybe.
Is that,
You
you're
can
gonna
also
leave
be our
this in?
first subscriber, so you could pay, and then we could pay you back.
Yeah, that's true.
Am now.
All right.
We're
Bye.
gonna get a lot
All
of
right,
editing.
thanks, guys.
Chef fucking Boyardee. Oh, here's the good. This is the good fuck.
Boots to the ceiling, boots to the ceiling. So sincere, Bruce, noose to the feeling. Right on the old scene, bucks if you hear me. Bricks for the fabric of your fiber. Brick, dips, blicks, big. Bees in the trap, no bees in the hive. G is for Jesus, G's in the nine. O is for OGs, grease in the eyes. Grease in the khakis, peace to the side. Forgotten youth when older mutants play Magneto. We believe the strip and never plagiarize their credo. Fashion cut up for the fascists. Dirty lipped and truly goony. Looney Tunes, schooly D's come off cartoony. Donkey Cloak and Dagger. Lava banger legacy. No anonymity. No force validity. False hopes, we got close, man. We got ghosts. Tough shows and rough roads till every sign said go.
The skins hanging on the walls. No tokens, just reminders. What is left to win you for? For
Hey, I'm pushing up in your tempo. She too stoned. Nintendo. I'm Vince Cerf. She Pink Floyd. I'm jumping out the window. Like I'm fly. I float. I ride by. Cut my own mode. Get by with my chose fam. Dismantle thrones. All the fuck in your station. All up in your dark, awkward in your Mark Maron conversations. Call them out the park, hanging out the Van Halen cabs in your city. All up in your blocks, opposite the cops. Y'all should all fuck with me. Style like a Cadillac crash with a battle axe handy. Gucci store, fire on the coach horde. And planes, trains, and automobiles. I'm John Candy. Y'all just can't stand me. I make them feel ridiculous. Picking up out their postures. Put together meticulously awful. In the air, hostile. And fingernails watching. Sit and stare, boxer if I gotta. Panic is the fashion. I arrow to the action. Piper through all types of shit. Types like me, y'all ain't fucking with ever. Go get it, or go without. You going nowhere. Run that shit into the ground. Go get it, or go without. We go for broke and run that shit into the ground.
with a hand in the sand. Came to with the fist fused in glass. Closed the circuit, skull full of white light, mouth full of ash. Sparks in the pavement, dragging the chain. Anchors off, man, lost it again. City on, gotta push through the rain. Weather in the vein, came for this, trained for this, fuck, made for this. Prey nameless duck, duck, great duck, gets up and running. Rest fall back like a bridge in London. Brand new bricks, I never touch it.
Y'all spin move, you doing too much. Rental car, trick cigar. I'm laughing while that whole thing blow up. Looking like I'm joking, Noah. Black mask, take your gas money. My name is Sims, but call me David Lynch. I make them act funny. I ain't afraid to change lives, state, date, or face. I'm option 2 when you skate or die. Still surviving them baselines, at least for the next 8 months. Then I change up, nigga ain't much. You do the Roger Rabbit and shape up. Still blabbing about some frame up. Vision MN living great duck. Prison 8 fucks, giving race subliminal. Class war criminal, trying to make my stance more pivotal. See what is left is suspect. The Pepsi Gen with crystal meth and punk rock dance. Pre-rap is dead. I laugh until I lost my chill. I'm really real, half built to spill, half kill at will. Half strong get-a-getter in my Philly field. Mill City kid in the field, gritty in the blood, proof in the track. 50 in the tank, on it like a Mack truck. Roll with a ton on my back, better back up fast, better back up, better back up fast, better back up, 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 better back up. Yeah. Go get it, or go without. You going nowhere, run that shit into the ground. Go get it, or go without. We go for broke and run that shit into the ground. And run that shit into the ground. And run that shit